What's up, guys?
What's up? How
Now
you guys
introducing Florida Man.
Welcome to Operation Hustle. Do you have weak, tiny arms and chesticles? Well, we're going to show you how to grow those muscles and how to grow your mindset.
And your glutes. Don't forget your glutes. Ooh.
Let's go.
Glutes too. Glutes included. Separate packaging.
Today we are going to go over growing. For men specifically, they always ask about their chest, their arms, the glory muscles, as I like to call them. And the women usually ask about booty.
The peach
Booty.
Yeah.
The cheeks, the butt cheeks. So for the men, don't skip leg day is rule number one.
Never, ever.
Even though we are talking about that upper body. So I do have a few tips about the chest specifically that I've been following for a long time. I've been using the 5x5 method, and that is 5 sets of 5 reps. So you're going to go heavy on those, and they work for strength and mass specifically. And I do what's called power building. And we were training with Alejandro over the past year in the power building setting, and he's made some serious gains. What do you think,
Yeah, he
Alejandro?
just took his year-long transformation. That was crazy.
Yeah, turned out pretty good.
There were some injuries along the way. That's part of the game, but it does happen, and to grow, you must hit some rough patches as well.
There is pain and change, as we always say. Pain and change.
Pain and change. So another method for growing the chest, guys, is usually what I like to say for a male client. If we find an exercise that's working like very well and they feel it, it's feeling really good, we don't put a cap on that number of sets that we're going to hit. We might hit 10 sets that day. So if it's like really feeling good, you're feeling a good contraction in that chest, I would say stick with that exercise and repeat that exercise twice a week. Don't be afraid to hit the muscle group twice a week as long as you know you recovered over maybe 2 to 3 days in between. But that has been working very well for me in the gym. So,
And I just want to say before we all continue on to talk about like what works for us and stuff is that like I mean there are things that work for us, and if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. Like Justin said, there might be some exercises where you might not feel it. This is just how we train and what has worked for us. And so if there's other trainers out there that disagree, please no negative comments. Again, everybody has different style of training. And
keep that hate, baby.
Exactly. Keep your hate. Listen, I have ran into trainers that believe completely different things than I, and I don't argue with them. That's their style of training. And there's different methods and ways to get to the solution, right? The solution of improving our body and making that dream body that we want.
And that's why I say find like that exercise that works well for you. Now, you can change angles on the benches. I like to use all different sorts of angles for the bench. We do decline, slight decline, like small inclines, high inclines. Like you're going to run through different exercises a lot.
It's going to feel repetitive, and that's where growth comes from.
Yeah.
Repetition,
Exactly.
consistency, learning that one couple movements, that group of movements that you do.
And perfecting them and like really concentrating on the form, because I know it sounds stupid, but the form is key. And if you're doing it wrong for a long period of time, the growth isn't happening because you're doing it wrong. And you see it, I see it all the time. And once you do get the barbell bench press down, it is a good chest builder. Some people will tell you it's not the greatest chest builder. I
Again,
believe
this
a little
is what we
differently.
believe.
Yeah,
Right.
like I said, I believe a little differently. Does it work for all? No, but it works for most. Look at Arnold. He did the same routine for a long period of time, and that man was a straight animal.
Right.
What are your thoughts on chest training, Alejandro?
Chest is an interesting area because for a lot of different people, different exercises tend to work better. I was talking to Dr. Phil, about this not too long ago.
Doctor.
And he was talking
We
specifically.
still got to get him on here.
Yeah, guys, recruit his ass. When he's in the
You do
gym,
need to
like,
start doing
bug
some, like,
him,
convincing.
poke him a little bit. What's up, Phil? Where you at? Why aren't you coming on the show, bro?
So I have an address that I'm going to give you that I want you to come hang out with me at. There you go. That's how you're going to get him.
All right, back to Alejandro.
Okay. So I feel like Alejandro likes to use bands and he likes to switch it up. But why don't you tell us a little bit more about your particular training style and chest and like the upper body and how you like to work that?
Well, as far as the doc helped me out with that one, basically he was just talking about how different people have different styles of chest and different lengths as far as the muscles go and the actual extension of the like the actual
Muscle
let's
fibers.
say distance from like top to chest to bottom to the bottom of the chest.
Yeah.
So he's talking about the chest cavity. And one of the things that I found like really started to help me grow more was just flies. You know,
There you go.
presses do great, like
Flies
presses
for the
do
guys.
great things for me, but I feel like the flies are just like a massive part of the pump.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I get as good a pump off of a press, even if I drop set it. I feel like if I fly it, that's when the pump really comes in.
Yeah, and like you guys, so like Alejandro's hitting flies and they're getting his chest pumped. You can also do like a neutral grip press with dumbbells as well. They make football bars that have neutral grip. Those also may work better for you as well. But flies are great. You just have to be careful on them. I know Arnold, that was one of his key movements, and that sucker would bring him all the way down to the ground like a psycho. I wouldn't recommend it, but that dude's chest was huge. So
Can I throw something in?
Yeah,
Just
for
throw
sure.
the chest.
Chesty,
Only thing I
baby.
notice is like longer arms, because
Yeah.
I'm the same way whenever I hit chest. I
Yeah.
feel the flies a lot more in my pec than whenever I'm pressing, just
Yeah.
because of how long my arms are. And I feel like that's kind of maybe the same reason why you like flies more than presses, because the presses take over my front delt because I'm so long. But those flies, it's really that chest.
Yeah,
stretch.
Has
that's
to
the
do with the
stretch.
point
It's
of
the stretch
leverage.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, as well as like if you were going to go on the basis that longer arms provide a better, let's say, contraction for the chest, it would be based on the theory of leverage.
Yeah.
So basically weight extended out over a
Physics.
further span is just going to be heavier or harder to lift over a
For
shorter
sure,
span.
the flies definitely work. I use them in my routine. I wouldn't say don't do them. You can do pec deck flies. You can do cable flies. You can do dumbbell flies.
Resistance band flies.
Yeah, there's so many different ways you can train, and the bands are a really good way to train strength and break through plateaus. It forces you to press or like push harder, no matter like what exercise you're doing. If you're doing a squat, you obviously have to
You
squat.
can put the
through
bands
movement.
around the dumbbells. You can do just the bands. You can put the bands around the barbell.
Bands
so
will
it's
make you
definitely-
dance.
There's definitely a lot of different ways that you can use those bands. But let's move on to a little bit of glute training. So,
Odie, Peach.
I wrote down just a few notes as to, how I train my glutes and, my thoughts and theories behind glute training. I trained my glutes from nothing. I had like no ass to now I have like,
No
peach
booty.
meat, right? So they call me the Dr. Peach. Yeah, Dr. Peach. So Peach Beat, right? But anyway, so the warm-ups that I like to do for leg days or, building the glutes are lunges, goblet squats. I don't do these ones often most recently, but I have in the past, back extensions, high knees. I see Caitlin doing a lot of leg swings, and I love to do the lateral band walks, lateral kickouts as well, just for warming up. And I don't do warm-ups for long. They're usually about, maybe 3 sets. Again, it's just like what I'm trying to do after that. If I'm going straight into like hip thrusts, glute bridges, I might throw in an extra set. If I'm not burning, if my glutes aren't burning by that third set and I really want to engage them going right into that first set of the hip thrust or the glute bridges, I might throw in a 4th set of that little banded warm-up. And then, if it's early in the day and it's cold, you might need a little bit longer of a warm-up. Some lifters require more than 5-minute warm-ups, some, and some might only just need the 5 minutes. And so I'll give you a perfect example. When I was writing this down, I was thinking of Caitlin. So Caitlin needs a little bit longer of a warm-up for her glutes and her glute training days because of the difference in her quads and how she feels that. And, I particularly only need about literally like a 5 to 7 minute warm up, and then I'm ready to go. Sometimes I'll just go right into it.
And I can't do that.
Right,
Yeah,
and so
she's
that just depends
definitely
on,
warm-ups on point, for sure.
who you are and, what you have going on, right? And then I definitely feel like there is a sweet spot for volume. So if you're doing volume days, and I like to vary them, right? So I like heavy days with lower reps and more sets, so more than 4 sets, maybe 5, 6 sets, heavier weight, lower reps, anywhere between, 5, I'd say 5 to 10, and maybe even 6 to 8. And those are usually the rep numbers I go with. But for volume, I do believe there's a sweet spot between 12 to 20. Sure, you could do more, and I've known plenty of trainers that like to go in those higher, numbers of hypertrophy. But I believe that is the sweet spot. And different factors interact to determine the volume, right? So things like exercise section, load, effort, frequency, fitness level, age, genetics, all those things play part, you know what I mean? So someone who is older might not be able to hit, 30 reps. They're just be super gassed, hitting 30 reps, and then they're just like not even able to get a 3rd set in, right? So that's how those different factors can affect volume. And then a little thing I wanted to touch on is burnouts. So, and I wanted to ask Caitlin her thoughts on burnouts and just like how she feels about it. But as far as burnouts, I don't like burnouts to be more than like 10 minutes. I mean, that's, to me, it's a burnout is a 10-minute thing in the
baby,
end,
burn.
right? So if you're going to do a little burnout at the end of your glute day and you want to throw abs in there, and let's say, abs is 3 minutes, then your, little glute burnout shouldn't be more than 7. Again, to me, a burnout is 10 minutes. And then cool downs, as far as cool downs, I don't typically do cool downs, and it's funny because I'll have clients be like, so where's the cool down? I'm like, you don't really need cool downs. Your body will cool down on its own, right? If you want to go for a nice brisk walk afterwards and you want to stretch on your own, that's awesome. I'm always back to back with clients, so I always say, hey, stretch afterwards, static stretching on your own. We can dynamic warm up together. You can dynamic warm up before you get here. I like to utilize every minute I have with them. But Caitlin, what are your thoughts on burnouts and just everything I talked about?
I wanted to just point out one thing that's kind of like way in the beginning. Even the training style, I've noticed the way Abby trains her glutes and the way that I train my glutes is very different, but we both see results. I went from pancake to have a little bit now, but it's still not peach meat, right? But it's way bigger than what it used to be.
But like you said to me previously, I've been in this game a little bit longer. I'm older than you, and you will. So you just started, getting into these, specified workouts. So you will.
Yeah.
Everybody's different too.
And the food, right?
Oh, yeah, the food is key.
And that's I feel like the number one thing that a lot of women don't realize is they'll bust their ass in the gym, but then they're not eating enough protein.
And then another thing I noticed
that's
is
men and women.
So
guys.
I did write this down though. So I see a lot of people making this mistake, whether it is glute training or it's upper body in general. They get on that treadmill every time they work out, or they'll get on that the elliptical every time they work out, and they hit 30 minutes steady state at the same pace. Please stop. You're burning all your muscle off, and you're no longer preserving the muscle. So when we go steady state and our heart rate is not jacked up and down, we're burning fat, but we're also burning muscle. And so the whole point, if you're trying to grow, is to preserve the muscle. And so if we're going to do cardio at the end of a glute day, which I always say at the end, I don't work out, cardio before I start a glute day. It's going to be spiked, and it's probably going to be only like a 15-minute little cardio thing I might do, and it's going to be I'm jacking that heart rate up and down. So maybe a little HIIT workout, maybe I'm on that spin bike, and I'm going, every 30 seconds I'm changing my pace, but you're not going to preserve that muscle. So there will be no growth if you continue to get on the same machine and you do the same steady state cardio over and over after a
And if you're going to run your
out.
asses outside.
Sprints.
Sprints.
Get outside and run. Treadmills are trash for your
Sprints is another
knees.
way to really get that heart rate jacked up, right?
Yeah. And it's going to work your abs. If you want abs, do freaking sprints, guys. I'm telling you right now. And they suck. They hurt.
So,
but it's
but
110%
I want her to answer
effort.
her opinion on burnouts. Just because I have
Burnouts?
everybody has a different opinion on that.
I just recently started including burnouts in my workouts, and honestly, the way I see my burnouts is I want one exercise, I'm going to do hella reps, I'm going to get that nice burn, and that's my burnout. So honestly, my burnouts are probably not any longer than like 2-3 minutes.
Yeah, I think we did. That was the quad at the end of the.
Yeah, I mean, that
pretty
was
much like
a
it
little
kinda
bit
like
of a
burnout.
quad burnout, but then even at the end, I don't know if you saw me at the end of that workout, I went to the side and started doing donkey kicks and then pulses.
Yeah.
That was like my burnout for the day.
Yeah.
I just was pulsing donkey kicks until I felt the burn.
For
I
sure.
couldn't go anymore. That was my burnout for the day.
So there's like an awesome arm burnout that we've done before. It's a rope extension and a dumbbell curl. And you do it for 10 minutes straight. And I believe it's 10 reps and 10 reps. And you literally do it for the time, and there is no rest until you die. It
Or
is
like
amazing.
the penalty workouts. I don't know if you've seen me give those clients. So it's where you give it to my clients.
So you
It's
torture them clients.
literally called a penalty workout. So let's see. I'll give somebody, this is their burnout. You have 100 glute bridges, right? 100 glute bridges pulses.
Yeah.
You're going to pulse 100 times. If you at any point stop, you have to go give me 20 burpees, right?
Dope.
After the 20 burpees, you go right back and you're finishing that 100. Every time you stop during that 100 reps, you have to go give me 20 burpees.
Love that.
So it's like if
Yeah.
you're not going to keep the glute burn, you're going to go burn some calories.
You're going to burn something, baby.
Yeah, I like to do
burnouts
that.
can look different, right, for different workouts, right? Like, I had a client yesterday that did a full body workout, and Caitlin saw what I did at the end. She liked it. She wanted to use it with her client, but I had my client get on the leg extension, and she had dumbbells in her arm, and so she was going so she'd go one curl, one leg extension, one curl, one leg extension, and that was a single leg, and then so she'd go 8 on one side and 8 on the other, and that was the burnout, right? So burnouts can look differently, too. They could be the penalty, like she said. They could be what we talked about, the quad extensions that we did on her workout. They could be just like what I talked about. They could be the 10-minute little, 7 minutes of glute burning out and 3 minutes of abs. But they really shouldn't be. A burnout's not meant to be a 20-minute workout. Burnout's meant to be to like just
Quick.
burn out quick, almost till
Get the
failure
pump.
at the end. Get the pump, right?
Yeah,
Like
you can do a burnout workout, though. I've done it before.
Yeah.
So it's one exercise for the entire workout. I did a bench press where you pyramid up and back down.
Yeah.
And it was 200 reps in one sitting, and it takes forever. But it's 245 pounds at the end, and then you come all the way back down in 10 sets. So there's 10 plates on each side. And by the end of that, like, I literally couldn't do chest anymore. I was dead. So you could do it. I wouldn't recommend it like every time you work out, but it is a cool thing to like try out.
To play around
Try it.
with.
You could do, until failure as a burnout. Like I did that
Yeah.
yesterday. I only had 30 minutes
Yeah.
to work out, so I did my 30-minute glute workout, and then at the end, all I did was one exercise. I did cable squat pulses, where you don't come all the way upright. You're just continuing to pulse, and I pulsed until I couldn't. I didn't put a rep number on it, and just until failure. And I think I ended up getting like 40 pulses, and then I just like could not anymore before I was losing form. Those glasses, I just can't.
He's back.
It's
But
the Matrix.
something to
Every
say.
time I look at him,
The
it's like,
Matrix.
Yes.
So we have a comment here. So Quanika said she's gotten the burpee penalty. Thanks, Caitlin.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's some laughing faces, so I'm imagining it was definitely intense. I'm sorry, Quanika,
Yeah.
but I'm not sorry because it got you those results.
My
Yeah,
penalty for the
her
client.
peach meat. Her peach meat's. We're getting
Yeah,
there,
she's
girl.
getting it. She's
We're
crushing
getting
it.
there.
She's
Yes,
for
girl.
sure.
Yes.
So speaking
Somebody
of,
FedExed her a new booty.
penalties, I do penalize my clients for like in the middle of the set. If they stop, my rule is you start over. So either we start over at the same weight or we drop a plate and your ass is doing all them 20 reps again. So I know some of my clients are probably cringing right now because I made them do it, but it is definitely one of my rules that I stick to. And I
Those
try
wall
to.
sits. Ooh.
Yeah.
Their legs be shaking, and Justin's like, "If you drop, we're starting over." And I'm like, "That's real."
So
it
I
works
wanted to
though. You
talk
got to hold
about-
yourself accountable.
Yeah.
I want to talk about some of our favorite exercises. I listed 5 of my favorite glute exercises. I like body weight elevated glute bridge. And so, and you can do different heights on this, right? So like I saw Caitlin having one of her clients do it yesterday where they were laying on the ground, they had their feet up on a high bench. You could do a small box. You can do a medium box, right? But
worked
it's just
pretty
putting
well.
your feet up
They do.
high, right? So I like that. I like the single leg hip thrust. I like the goblet deep squats. And then I like the banded duck walks or squat shuffles. They're both really good. Definitely can feel on the glutes right away as long as you're doing it correctly with the correct form. And then I really like the banded glute kickbacks. But the biggest mistake I wanted to say on this that I see with women and just clients when I do give them this, so I have to really make sure I'm like asking them all the way through how they're feeling it and watching them, is that they're not extending their leg out all the way. So, if they'll be like, oh, I can go heavier. I'm like, no, let's not go heavier because you're not extending that leg out all the way. So you're not getting that full glute extension, right? So if you're going to do banded Romanian glute kickbacks, just make sure that you're putting it on a lighter weight. You don't need to go super heavy. The band is already weight, and you want to make sure you're extending that leg out straight, right? And that you're really getting that glute extension and you're engaging the glutes.
Mind muscle connection. That's one thing that's been very, very big with me because I am so quad dominant. Literally, I could be doing hip thrusts like a year ago and I could feel them in my quads. Like, hip thrusts are supposed to be the number one for glutes, and I'd be like, my quads are burning. I can't even feel my butt. So it's like, for me, the cues are push to the heels, keep your weight shifted back in your heels, and just mind muscle connection. You want to literally be able to envision your glutes doing the work. And that's where I've seen a lot of growth.
Squeeze your cheeks.
And then on those glute bridges, hip thrusts, is like a big mistake that I see a lot of clients do, and that we do a lot of correcting, because I see Caitlin correcting it too, is not driving those hips up all the way.
Yes, it's a scoop.
Scoop, right?
Yes.
So what I always say is, like, if they're doing a glute bridge, is you should be able to see that slope. Right? If you're lying on a mat, your hips should be up at a slope. And if they're not up at a slope and there's just a tiny little, divot, that means you're not right up extending all the way. So you're not going to feel, again, the best glute engagement unless you were really driving those hips up to the top and you are squeezing, pretending you're squeezing a credit card or a grape between the butt cheeks.
Yeah, for sure. And I found so my back I threw out probably a month ago, and I found that my glute medius is really weak, pathetically weak. I had the medium band on and it was difficult. Yeah. So men, do not neglect the butt cheeks.
Our whole body is a kinetic chain, and I feel like that's what people kind of understand, that the glute med is not only the bubble butt maker, right? Your glute med is important for hip stability, which leads up the back, which it's just important overall.
And that's literally what happened. My hip gave out, and then my back got destroyed.
Right.
Yeah.
So you see how this just happened with Justin's back? It's like men seem to think that the only thing that's important is the upper body, and that's great. Love that. But the lower body is also important, not just because, hey, you should work out everything and be balanced, and so you're not just looking really big on top, but so you don't injure yourself.
I think it's the most
Aesthetics,
important
too.
is your lower body. that's where everything starts from. So like that's the base of your body. You're always on your feet, and like even through all the upper body movements, like a standing overhead press, like you are literally using your lower body the entire time. So do not neglect them. And it looks stupid as shit if you're huge on top and tiny on
Well,
bottom.
like I said, it's not just about aesthetics, about the fact that you can prevent injury because,
Yeah.
you know, you can easily hurt your lower back if those muscles are around it. If you're not working your core and you're not working your lower body and your glutes, the back can be easily injured.
It's also about being an effective male.
There you go.
The alpha male. If you can't
my
fight with
God.
your legs, you can't fight at all.
There you go.
Okay,
He's not wrong. He's definitely
Florida
not wrong.
man quote.
A kick is going to hurt more than a punch, if you ask me.
Hell yeah.
Ah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just, you know, being around Ollie and getting familiar with the MMA stuff and just watching the MMA fights. And, like, every time I hear those kicks and I just hear it sting. And then we recently went to a fight over at the Hard Rock.
That was
and I
sick.
could hear it live. I was like, oh, my God.
Dude, a leg kick is devastating.
It's
And
like...
I've never been leg kicked. I know this sucker has been.
Throw them bags in our
But
facility.
Holy smokies,
No,
that
thank
shit
you.
would-
I don't want to be one. No, thank you.
No.
You're free to try. I mean, I'll give you one 5%. 5%.
No, thank you.
Pass.
Still
Baby,
blow me
pass.
out of the water. I'm like,
Yeah, I'm not about that life, sir.
Well, anyway,
So I want to go into, like I said, some arm training, guys. Now, the key to the arm is the tricep. Don't neglect the triceps. So we're talking about some heavy, close grip bench presses for some mass. And then, like, all of our accessory work, we have, like, the rope extensions, skull crushers. We want to go heavy on most of these, but some of them you're going to drop back and do, like, a bodybuilder style. But the arms is triceps, triceps, triceps. Yes, you want to work the biceps, but it's majority tricep, guys. And your fucking shoulders. Don't neglect your shoulders, meaning your rear delts, those side delts, and the front delts, because without them, your arm looks pretty stupid. So if you have these big biceps and triceps and your shoulders are like tiny, it's not going to look as good. So you really want to hone in on like some lateral raises, reverse flies, front raises, and you want to work the traps too, because if you don't have those, you also are going to look pretty dumb. So, I mean, in my opinion, I have a certain way I want to look. I mean, not everybody wants to look this way, whatever. But I'm just
some people
telling
don't
you,
like the thick neck. I'm not saying you have a thick neck.
got that thick neck, bro.
you have a
But,
thing.
But I
you know,
don't-
when, like the traps, and you're like my
traps.
dad, my dad's high school picture, you saw it? He was
Yeah,
like
dude.
this and
Trappy
that.
Chan,
So it's
bro.
funny you say that because my younger sister is just like, why do I have these? And I'm like, I was like, because you keep deadlifting and like
That's
Thick
why.
necks are functional.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure, the
When you
deadlifts.
deadlift, it's working those
Yeah,
traps. So
women,
right
you
before-
got to be careful with those deadlifts. If
Listen,
you don't
I want
big
to tell a
old
funny
traps.
story right before we end here. So right before we were about to get married, so I had this dress that was very just like, you know what I mean? It's made for just like a very petite woman. And I was like, I don't need to like try it on. So I didn't try it on until like close to the wedding, and like it didn't fit. Not because I was like overweight, but because my back was so wide. I couldn't get the zipper up, and I was like, now what? There's no more sizings left. So I had to diet really heavily and stop doing any sort of pull-ups, deadlifts, and only do close grip rows, close
Got that
grip back
thickness.
stuff because I was starting to get that thickness, and it worked. So I had like about 3 weeks to do that. I did all of that, and I was able to get the dress up. But man, yeah, my back was thick, girl. Thick.
Yeah, the deadlifts are going to target the traps for sure. Targets your entire back. So, yes, it's your lower back, but your whole back is working.
Yeah,
and
them
your grip
lats,
strength.
them lats are locking in.
Yo, the
giving you
lats, once
stability.
you know how to use them in the deadlift, it changes the deadlift.
You get so much
And,
stronger.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
insane. But
Yeah.
you got to be careful on them for sure, because that shit will fuck you up.
All right, is there a quote
So-
that we want to wrap up with, or something that we want
I
to
don't
wrap
have a
up with?
quote, but like, so going into like normal workout tips, I think that are just like in general. You want to stay consistent as fuck, okay? AF, whatever you want to say. Consistency is key. So I've been training for over 12 years, and as you can see, consistency works. 5 days a week, forever, is pretty much my plan. And if I stay moving, I think that this will last a long time.
And I think my little tip is just like, hey guys, if you fall down, don't fall down that rabbit hole of shaming yourself. You know, get back up on the horse. There's going to be ups and downs, you know, especially like he said, he's been doing this 12 years. You know, I've been doing this a very long time. There's times when like, you know, I've had downs and I might have only hit the gym 4 days that week instead of my 5 or 6 that I want to. You know, don't let that eat you up. You don't have to make up for it. You don't have to put 2 days the next day to make up for it. Just keep it moving. Get up the next day, reset. That's all you have to do.
Effort is number one as well.
100%
Give
agree
your
with that.
best effort every time, and results will happen. I guarantee it.
Yes.
What do you
Yes,
think? What do you think? What do you
consistency,
think? What do you think?
discipline. Yep.
Effort, 120% in the gym every time. And then if you apply that to your life, I guarantee your life will change too. Boom.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Welcome back. Actually, we'll see you next week because we're
See
leaving.
you next week for
Goodbye.
episode 14. Bye, guys.
Deuces. Happy Friday.